this event is we're showing a program called Cult Classic. So what Cult Classic is, my friend Elliot Rahal, who's an independent comic book creator, he has had books out on Valiant and Dark Horse, and his current book, Cult Classic, Return to Whisper, is on Vault Comics. They're the company that does Heathen and a number of other really good books. And he was trying to think of ways that he could promote the book. And in the comic Cult Classic, there's a character named Rip G. Raves, who hosts a show that's like Svengoolie or Mad Frank, things like that, and that's a character in the comics. So we decided to make an episode of that show, Cult Classic, and air it on Halloween last year before the book came out. So we showed Night of the Living Dead, and we shot like 3 or 4 segments where we had like a guest, and it's basically just a 28-minute talk show, and we may reference Night of the Living Dead. I'm assuming if you're here, you've probably seen it. If not, do yourself a service and go to your local library and check it out, because I think that's one they'll definitely have there. And so there was a television network in the Twin Cities. They're a public access station. The name escapes me at the moment, and I didn't write any notes down because I'm a moron. And so we in Brooklyn Park, they let us come out and produce this over the course of a few days. Elliot and I wrote it together. I wrote the teleplay, and then we just cast it and produced it and shot it like you would any zero-budget pilot for something. And we're talking about potentially doing it again this year, or maybe making it an annual thing if we can, if we have the it's a ridiculous process for what we got. So and it's intentionally kind of slapdash. So if you're like, oh. We erred on the side of making it look bad if we had a choice. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's lower the lights and play a Cult Classic. Here we go, guys.
Straight from the casket, it's Cult Classic! Rip G. Raves here. Welcome to the debut episode of the Twin Cities' longest-running late-night horror review, Cult Classic! Tonight, we will be watching a film so terrifying that you may die while viewing it, provided you are already in very poor health. George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead! Often imitated, but never duplicated, Romero's atmospheric zombie opus clutches its relevance like a loaded shotgun to this very day. This terrible... Oh, not this again.
No! Get on with it, you drunk! This introduction's taking longer than my last 3 lives!
I feel like that was funnier in rehearsal. But I suppose we should give a big round of applause for my co-ghost.
Oh, thank you.
Sven the cat.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sorry I was late. I was drunk.
You know, I worry about you.
What royalty-free movie are we thrusting upon the Twin Cities tonight, Rip?
Well, what I was trying to say before I was boozily interrupted is we're watching George A. Romero's horror masterpiece, Night of the Living Dead!
Is that the one where they botched the copyright?
It is indeed. The film was originally slated for release as Night of the Flesh Eaters. However, the studio botched the copyright and released the film as Night of the Living Dead with no legal protections at all.
So you're telling me that everyone and their mothers could make an Of the Living Dead rip-off without ever paying Romero a dime?
Indeed.
Wow, Rip, that sure is a
Fun film fact! Here's another fun film fact about Night of the Living Dead! Bosco chocolate was used as a blood substitute in the film, or Bloodstitute.
Oh,
Fun film fact!
Actors ate real people on set.
Well, that just isn't true.
No, I think I read it somewhere in that Fangoria did, or maybe that other monster magazine, Dianetics.
Fun film fact, Romero's Night of the Living Dead broke new ground in American cinema by casting an African-American lead at a time when, unlike today, our country was still deeply racially divided.
Fun film fact. I'm gonna throw up.
Oh, as long as you do it on the tile and not the carpet this time.
God, I don't feel good. Oh, I don't feel good, Rip. Promises are for fools. Oh.
And now, we bring you George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead! I said not on the carpet! Welcome back, my classic cultivators. I'm Rip G. Raves, and tonight we are viewing George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead!
Wow, what a scary movie.
I know. The dead rise from their graves to feast upon the living as a metaphor for man's inhumanity to man.
What movie were you watching? I was terrified by the lack of hard liquor in that black and white kitchen.
Good point. Speaking of which, that allows me to segue into one of our most gracious sponsor breaks.
Oh.
Old Man Yelly's Tub Time Booze. Now, Sven, have you ever felt less than drunk?
Oh, you mean sober?
Correct. Have you ever felt sober?
Well, Rip, now that you think of it, yeah, once, before my son died.
Then might I suggest Old Man Yelly's Tub Time Booze, the only booze distilled in real Tennessee bathtubs.
Well, I got some right here with me now. Yep.
Yes, really get it in there.
Yeah.
That's where the medicine goes. How do you feel, Sven?
I can't see. Rip. Oh, God. Everything's gone black.
That means it's working.
No, it's not working. Something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Oh, you'll be fine.
No, I'm not going to be fine. How am I going to drive to work? I have to take care of my mother at home. Oh, God. No, I can't see.
Old Man Yelly's. Old Man Yelly's Tub Time Booze. News, a proud sponsor of Cult Classic. And now, let's return to Night of the Living Dead.
Rip, can you please call the doctor?
Oh, you'll be fine. Welcome to the Cult Classic Kitchen! We are here with our very special guest, Katie Romansky of the Minnesota Ice Cream Food Truck. Katie! Thank you for joining us on this incredibly special occasion, Katie.
Of course.
Tell us, how long have you been creating ice cream treats for the Minneapolis area?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Wow, so 2 years of ice cream, or should I say ice cream?
I think that you should not.
That's fair.
I want to scream a lot, but I don't.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Seems
this
like we walked
just
in.
got real.
Oh, no.
So, Katie, in a world of taco trucks and spaghetti bowls, what was it that made you decide I will iced cream?
Because I always want to eat ice cream.
Always.
Always?
Always.
What's your favorite flavor?
I love Blue Moon.
Blue Moon, mine.
Blue Moon with cookie dough.
Blue Moon with cookie. You want to know my favorite, Rip?
Yes, Sven, what is your favorite? I'm sure this is going to be enlightening.
It's rum raisin. Get it? Oh.
I didn't get
Because he's a desperate alcoholic.
It's-
Oh, rum. I couldn't understand
Yes.
what he said.
Oh, well.
Yes, a lot of people have that problem. You have to be saddled with him for an eternity before you can understand what's coming out of his disgusting marble mouth.
You know, I'm right here.
Oh.
So, Katie,
Yes?
how many varieties of ice cream do you have?
Oh, varieties. I almost didn't get that. Well, we usually just do chocolate and vanilla, but today we're doing zombie ice cream.
Zombie ice cream!
Zombie ice cream.
The ice cream
It's
of the
gonna be-
Oh.
dead!
It's going to be scary. What?
Oh.
Where can we find you throughout the year?
Roaming around on the streets or at black parties or music festivals, but you can just look at my Instagram and you can find me.
During our incredibly professional interview prep, you mentioned that you were that yesterday you served over 700 ice cream treats to children of anything.
Children. It was
No.
really fun.
It doesn't sound like you had a lot of fun.
I
had
feel
a
like
lot of
she's
fun.
putting on a big face for the camera.
That's nice.
There's no face.
So, Minnesota and ice cream is like cold on cold, right? So what do you do during the winter time?
I sleep.
Oh, just like me, I sleep like 19 hours a day, but that's because I have clinical depression.
Oh my gosh, I hope I don't have that.
Oh, no.
I don't want that. I'm just tired
Well,
of
I don't-
serving ice cream. All those kids. I'll keep doing
Here,
it though. I'll do it all the
Sven.
time.
Sven, I tell you every time, do not make our guests feel bad about your mental illness.
Oh, God, I just need to open up to someone I do.
I have.
You need ice cream.
Oh, do you have any here for us today?
That sounds like a wonderful segue into the next part of this segment. We've asked Katie of the Minnesota Ice Cream Food Truck to prepare for us an incredibly spooky treat available to you, our classic cult files, and other things that we call you.
Yay!
He just made a sound.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you here for ice cream?
I am here for ice cream. Let's find out how to make the ice cream.
Come inside.
So, tell us, Katie, how do you make the ice cream?
I don't. The machine does.
Oh!
Magic. I put it in the Stilton ice cream machine, and it freezes in cylinders in this titanium machine.
You've mentioned that you've been operating this food truck for nearly 2 solar cycles. When did you get it? Do you have problems with it? And is it legal to drive it on the highway?
I'm not sure if it's legal to drive it.
Oh.
Yes, it is. Or maybe not, I don't know. It breaks down a lot, but I know. But it's cute and adorable, and we gotta keep it going.
Absolutely. It's the nicest ice cream truck I've ever crouched inside of. We noticed that you had some very lovely visual art adorning the side of this vehicular ice cream conveyance. Who created your graphic designs?
Chris Sexton Graphic Designs.
Chris Sexton Graphic Designs. You just got plugged on Cult Classic.
Ooh, he'll like that.
Most people do. I'm very important. Tell us, what does the typical day look like for the operator of the Minnesota ice cream food truck?
I drive around the streets of Minneapolis and I find all the kids.
Oh no.
That sounded bad too.
I'm not making this bad, just so you know. She's the one being creepy about kids. No, it's fine. We're having fun.
The kids find me.
No, it's almost not, because that's how they find them on Dateline. All right.
Am I sorry?
Do you like working with children, Katie?
Everyone likes children.
Everyone does like children.
It's a fact. Right? Whoa!
Oh! The gods that protect children are out in force today! Now,
Oh my God.
show us this ice cream being poured!
That's pretty good, yeah. You're gonna do one too.
It's my favorite.
Zombie.
Yes.
Devil.
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh, look at it pour.
Special skills, for sure. Zombie ice cream.
Now, let us take this delicious iced cream into the studio, where we will top it appropriately with terror. Welcome back to the Cult Classic Kitchen, where Katie Romansky of the Minnesota Ice Cream Food Truck is going to show us how to eat this delicious ice cream we just saw her make with our very eyes.
It looks so good.
Not those eyes?
Oh, not these eyes.
Spooky.
We've asked Katie to make a spooky treat for us and our Cult Classic followers out there. Now, Katie, spook us out.
Do you want me to make it now?
Go for it,
Alright.
yes.
Alright, we're gonna do a little bit of Oreos.
Oh,
Everyone loves Oreos, right?
Is there anything spooky about the Oreos?
Were they... were they sold to you by a man who had experienced a serious loss in his life?
I think they were, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
spooky.
He looked weird, yeah.
Oh, we're not being judgmental.
No, I mean...
We're just calling it how we see it.
Oh, no.
I don't know anything about his personal life, let's say that.
Oh, and you have these
have
eyeballs.
eyeballs,
Where did you
eyeballs.
get these eyeballs? What vintage?
I was at a children's festival yesterday and I came across them.
Wait, did you take them from the children?
They're really spooky and really fun. And then we're gonna put a few hockey sticks in here because everyone seems to be putting them in ice cream these days. Yeah, people love them. Oh my God, that looks kind of cool.
Oh,
And then we're
the
gonna
horror!
put some scary cotton candies on there.
Oh, cotton candy
And
whisked
then-
by a woman who had given up.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was a witch for sure. And then we're gonna put on this cherry sugar coat. Oh my God, it turned solid. No, we're not.
Oh.
We're not gonna put on. Oh yes.
The horrors of the cherry sugar coat.
Oh, what?
Exactly.
So, what's your favorite way to enjoy ice cream while watching a scary movie?
I don't like scary movies.
Well, what are you doing here then?
What is this magic that you're doing now?
Unicorn tails.
What was that?
Is that edible glitter?
Oh my God.
Ew.
Edible glitter?
Do you have to juice a unicorn for that?
Yep, that's what it is. Yeah. I forgot to give you your
my
ice cream.
word.
No, it's right in front of you. Can you see it?
Ben, I don't know if that's going to mix well with the
no.
vat of booze you drank earlier.
Listen, all I do is drink and eat ice cream now because Katie's my ice cream person forever.
Yes, thank you so much to Katie Romansky of the Minnesota Ice Cream Truck. Oh, we have so much fun.
Thank you, Cody.
Yep, no problem.
Oh, that's really good. Excellent.
Oh my God.
Welcome back, cult followers. Now, we've been having a lot of scary fun watching a film about zombies rising from their graves to take over the land of the living. But what about the real zombie experience? We have one of the Twin Cities' most popular stand-up comedians on our show this evening to answer those very questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you Zombie Shelley Paul!
Thank you so much. Good to be here. It's great. My parents believe in Jesus Christ being their personal Lord and Savior, because he was killed and rose from the dead, which is weird because I did that too, and they don't believe in me at all, right? I go to church every Sunday because of him. They still refuse to come to a single one of my comedy shows. I try to make myself feel better, by saying that it's probably because they're afraid I'm gonna eat them. But I know the truth is they're much more afraid that I'm going to embarrass them. I got body shamed a lot when I was alive for being fat, not exercising and eating too much. But I just want all those people to know I've now started running after my food. It's kind of sucks, that I can't go through the drive-thru anymore. I was trying to order pizza for a while, but they caught on when, none of the drivers were coming back. When I was alive, I always wondered how my dog could still get so excited every single time I fed him, when he always ate the same thing every day, Now, I really feel for the guy, right? Because every day, for me, is the same thing. Breakfast, brains. Lunch, brains. Dinner, brains. Brains, 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 brains. Oh, look at me, rattling on about brains again. I'm such a zombie. It's not all about eating brains, though, And I feel like a lot of people don't know that, right? Like, that's not the only thing we do, I mean, eating brains does take up a significant amount of my time, right? But for the rest of the day, I'm just going about my activities like I would when I was alive, and which means that I still mostly watch TV, right? But the main difference now is that every channel is the Food Network. Speaking of TV, now that I'm a zombie, everybody always assumes that I must love The Walking Dead, right? And I think that's pretty messed up, because first of all, that show doesn't exactly portray us in a positive light, and be like people assuming that everybody from New Jersey must love the Jersey Shore, right? It doesn't make sense. And second of all, The Walking Dead is way too scary for me. I can't handle horror, I have nightmares, which I can't even keep mirrors in my house anymore, just right. So, Halloween is coming up, you guys, and it's always a really hard time of year for me, just having to watch all of these living people just dressing up like the undead. They watch one YouTube tutorial, slap on a bunch of special effects makeup, and so they can look like a zombie for one day, go home, wipe it off, and go back to their jobs the next, right? I can't even get a job, you know. No one will hire me looking like this year round, right? And I can't just go home and wipe this skin off, right? Or I can, you know, because it's dead and very loosely attached, but you know what I mean. The worst are the sexy zombies, right? There's no such thing as a sexy zombie, you know. We smell like death. Our bodies are literally rotting, right? The last person to grab my boob still has it. All right, it's been great. I'm Zombie Shelley Paul. Thanks, you guys.
One more time for Zombie Shelley Paul, everybody! Oh, yes, look at her shamble! Oh, thank you. I'm so glad we could finally get you on the show. Have a seat, have a seat. Oh, Shelley, we have been trying to get you on our stage here at Cult Classic for months.
That was good stuff, good stuff.
Excellent set, excellent set. You are in demand right now, I'll tell you that much. What were you doing before you came to Cult Classic? What was your last big gig, as they say in the biz?
I spent the last month working inside of a haunted hayride, which it's not great, but...
It sounds like death. Get it? 'Cause you're dead.
Yes, that does sound like a terrible job to have.
Zombie Shelley Paul, like, are you a local resident here in Minnesota?
I do live here in Minnesota. Well, I don't live here anymore, but I reside here, so...
Zombie Shelley Paul, tell us, what is the most famous brain you've ever eaten?
You know, it was a fellow comedian. Oh, I feel kind of weird saying fellow, but, you know, it was actually George Carlin.
You ate George Carlin's brain? That is incredible.
It was until I realized it wasn't actually George Carlin after all.
No, so you didn't find the pork chops, did it? That's a stupid book. Well, who did you eat? Did you just murder a man that looked like my stepdad? What did you do?
No, it turns out it was just some other guy whose name was George Carlin. It's close, but...
an easy mistake. I can't tell you how many times I've eaten a man named Joaquin Phoenix. So, tell me, you mentioned your relationship briefly with your parents. How has becoming a zombie affected that?
Well, I'll tell you a story that happened recently. You know, I was out, out and about, and I almost ran into my dad in the wild, right? Unplanned, which is no thanks, you know what I mean? Pass on that. But, you know, I was out and I saw a car cross in front of me on the road. It happened to look like my dad's car. Pulled into what happened to me at my dad's bank, and I was kind of like, crap, because the thing said I had also just taken a bite of a brain, you know, and I was really worried that he had seen that, you know, so what I did was I just ran away.
You just shambled off into the night.
Just ran away.
Thank you so much for being on Cult Classic. Zombie Shelley Paul, everybody! And now, we return you to Night of the Living Dead!
Well, that certainly was uplifting.
Yes, my favorite part was when everybody died.
That's interesting. My favorite part was getting blind drunk on tub time booze. When sobriety strikes, it's
tub time! And of course, we must thank our wonderful guest chef, at Katie Romansky of the Minnesota Ice Cream Food Truck, and of course, Zombie Shelley Paul, and all of the wonderful people at the station for making this broadcast possible. Keep watching Cult Classic, kids, and always remember, stay plugged in, stay tuned, and stay alive!
So we'll play some credits while I talk here. That's us. And then these people. So Cult Classic was actually we could probably bring the lights up now. I think we're good. Hey, thanks guys. Thanks for coming. Cult Classic was created by I have the list of people. It was Elliot Rahal, and then John Bivens did the initial designs for RIP, and then let's see here. Felipe Cunha and Vault Comics themselves are also helped bring the book to life. And so now is when I would ask if there are any questions about what you just saw, other than like, oh, why, like I think that's a big question with that. Paul? Because we were promoting the release of Cult Classic Return to Whisper, you weren't here for the very beginning of the panel, which is fine. I'm not calling you out. I'm not like, why were you late, dipshit? There was nobody here. It's more just so the book that came out on Vault Comics is called Cult Classic Return to Whisper. It's basically like a Scooby-Doo sort of mystery team kind of thing about these teens who solve crimes or who solve spooky stuff with their mentor and kind of like their what's the dude from Buffy, the librarian from Buffy, Giles. Yeah, I almost said Niles because all I could think of was Niles Crane from Frasier. And so he's their Giles, basically, and that's Rip G. Raves. And so there's always some bit of insight that he has from one of the things that he showed at some point that helps them, like, fight a monster or something. It's a really good book. Everybody should check it out. I think the first issue is only $2. They were doing, like, a promotional cover price. They're, like, $1.99, and then and they do a bunch of different rad covers, and it's just all really good. Vault Comics, they're known right now for putting out Heathen. That's a book that a lot of people seem to like, and it's a good kind of grassroots company. Go ahead, other snowman.
How much of the characters, when you wrote the teleplay, it was to promote the comic book, how much of that character did you port over? Like, is that the way he is in the comic book, or is that a lot of you?
No. That's like Elliot and I talked about it. Because the comic wasn't really done at the time. There was some preliminary art, and I'd read the scripts, and I'd read it when he was working on the pitch and all that. But no, it was really just we talked about it and kind of came up with the voice and some of the things. The idea is that he's he's sort of a ghost or something, like you don't really and it takes place like in an attic in northeast Minneapolis or in the town of Whisper, Maine, which is where the comic book takes place. It's very good, the book, and it was so fun to do because we essentially got to just produce that, and it took probably twice as long as it should have, but it ended up it turned out better than we had kind of imagined, and it was cool that we were able to get Katie and Shelley to be involved. We went back and forth on what it was nice watching it with you, Seven, because it was during the stand-up the people laughed, you guys laughed when there should have been laugh breaks, and so it was like you were in the studio. Yeah, and that's because that's what we were trying to do. We kept it quiet in the studio intentionally for that, which was really hard because Shelley absolutely knocked that stuff out. A lot of that was her stand-up that she essentially just made it, instead of being about, how awful it is being a woman, it's about how awful it is being a zombie. And that's kind of what we were going for. And so that worked. Any other questions? You in the front row.
Was the ice cream actually good, or
It was very good. If you're ever, because ice cream, well, we made that months ago, I guess. Also, I came to your city, so why didn't you bring me ice cream? I drove here to be here. And so that's fine. But no, it was very good. If you're ever in the Twin Cities, Minnesota ice cream, it's fantastic. And they actually have a brick and mortar storefront now for the summers, and they're really good. And I can't imagine it's going to be long before, they're around in other parts of the state or in Moorhead or whatever. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there was anything that I thought of, because I'm clamoring to ask questions. I can tell everybody. What, Josh, you have another question? Thank you, person I'd never met before this very panel. Hello, stranger.
So the segments with Katie and Shelley, those were mostly improvised, correct?
Yes. We had a rough idea of the questions that we were going to ask Shelley. If anything, Shelley's was not really scripted, but closer to being scripted, I guess, than Katie's segment, because that was more, we were hoping that it would be fun if we should always plan things more. Just as a note to anybody who's trying to do something. You might think, oh, it's going to look cool if it's kind of rough. It's like, plan it more than you were going to. But it, that was definitely 100% improvised, the thing with her. We just knew that we were going to ask, how long have you been doing it? Like, it's typical boilerplate interview questions, like, why, are you doing this? And what made you want to do it? And then she kind of took it from there. Thank goodness she was fun and a good sport. Because it was, she didn't have any idea. We hadn't showed her the comic, or, she basically had no idea what we were doing other than, we're filming a thing that is going to be on TV for a minute on Halloween. And we aired it on Halloween from 10 to midnight, which we thought was cool to show, Night of the Living Dead. One of the most, as a side note, one of the most interesting parts of the process for me was doing because Elliot played Sven, so he was Sven the cat, and we had my friend Chris and his wife in Bismarck. They made the Sven the cat puppet, and it way better than we thought it would be or needed it to be. Because we thought we were gonna do a sock puppet, like a Syphil and Ollie type thing, and we were like, well, we should do. I know a guy who could maybe make us like a cheap axe Muppet looking thing, like a Muffet, and he did, and it turned out great, and it looked way better on camera than it was very happy that one of those happy accidents when it almost looked like it was too good for what we were trying. Elliot was really worried. He's like, oh, I don't know if it looks bad enough. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And as you could tell, Elliot, surprise, not a professional puppeteer. Holy crap. You have to move your hand when your mouth is moved. It's difficult. It's not because the trick is you have to close the mouth when you're opening your mouth. I didn't do it. He nailed it for being somebody who'd never done it before and had to squat on a stool behind that podium the whole time. Yeah. Other questions about how to show a public domain horror film? What's up?
Is Elliot Australian, or is that just
No, we said we wanted him to have an unplaceable semi-Cockney accent. It's different in every segment, and it's the inconsistency was intentional. And also, just to give him a big kudos, it was miserable for him. We're not set up to have a profession. when the Muppets or real puppeteers do it, they are as comfortable as a person can be in those, like in that posture, and they have like a monitor where they can see what they're doing. And if you're ever doing a puppet thing, that monitor is critical. We did not have that, and it. But so yeah, so I think that he did a very good job as somebody who'd never. It was just, you think something's not. We never would think that something artistic is going to be easy, but we thought that certain things would be more possible than they turned out to be, and with the folks that we had, Casey, they ran it on the credits, Casey Flesh and Royal Stein, two people who were in a comedy troupe called the Phibbs Brothers. They're the ones who ran a live Monday night show every other Monday on that TV station. So they're the ones who are kind of our in there, and they really helped us kind of with the actual nuts and bolts production aspect of it. And then Elliot and I, and we kind of directed it together. I don't even remember if we credited a director because everybody was just kind of like figuring stuff out on the days. Yeah, other questions? I think we have more time than we're going to need. So are there any other questions in the back there with the camera and the hat?
How did you go about getting a copy of the film to broadcast?
That is a good question. We picked one of like the top 5 easiest movies to do that for intentionally. There are public domain HD rips of Night of the Living Dead. We just Googled it, and you can download any of those, and it's perfectly okay to use it as long as it's not like the Criterion Collection or one of the special editions that they've done a bunch of like remastering to. It had to be, the original theatrical edit that was in theaters and whenever it came out. So that's pretty much it. We just Googled it, and then we had several video editors working on it, so we just chopped it up and kind of figured out where some of the logical breaks would be. If we were watching it on TV, where would the commercial breaks be, and put the breaks in there. That's a good question. Public domain stuff, pretty easy to find, and you can do whatever you want to with it. So I would recommend you steal from dead people all you possibly can. Other questions?
So I'm somebody who used to go to the New Comic Book Day.
Yeah. That's a show that Elliot used to run at a bar in Minneapolis.
I was just wondering, like, how you guys got together, like, because I've kind of seen you guys show up in similar stuff. So
Yeah.
how you guys all kind of met.
Well, Elliot and I met for the first time many years ago when he was a comedian in Chicago, and I was going there for work and doing open mics. And then it was basically, he was a stand-up comic as much as he was a comic book writer for the first year or so that I lived in Minneapolis when I moved down there. So we met through stand-up, and then we started having these, we do like a weekly, we've both been really busy, so we've kind of fallen off the last few months, but every Sunday we would get together and we would write for 4 hours on whatever, like he would work on whatever comic pitch or whatever stuff he was working on, I would work on screenwriting stuff, and then we just started talking about it, and we wanted to do something together, like make a project together that we would have some purpose for, and he had Cult Classic coming out, so it was, seemed like a logical thing to do, but that's pretty much it. We met doing stand-up, and that we had kind of similar ideas about what's funny, and yeah. How does anybody meet these days, There's a Tinder for creatives. Yeah, exactly. It's called CoreCon. Because he's laughing and engaged. He's got that. No, he's fine. Don't judge him. Don't judge Paul. He's bad. He plays the part. If you need to ask me any questions about the Kamikaze Snowmen, we could definitely just close out the panel. They're both very mean. Oh my God, so many dead animals in there.
Have you gotten any feedback from people who saw it?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, people, like a few people watched it, like on Facebook. You know, people were like, "Hey, I'm watching this thing that you guys did right now. That's great." We got like 3 of those. Nobody that matters though. There's no nobody reached out to us because of our moxie and said, "Hey, you should do that again." We're saying, "Hey, should we do this again?" And then it's like silence from the world, and then we probably will. But yeah, so in a nutshell, no, 0 feedback. But we know for sure that it did air. Because people did confirm that they watched it on their televisions. So, and also probably streaming online actually, but it was it was in the credits. I always forget like the call sign. It's a Brooklyn Park public access station in the Twin Cities. They do lots of really cool stuff and then lots of like really nutty stuff. Like they're true public access, man. I think the show that followed us was like a broke-ass coast-to-coast knockoff kind of thing about like lizard men, about like lizard people. Like that, we were followed by a conspiracy show, and I thought that was pretty funny. That would be the thing that airs after Cult Classic. Couldn't have worked out any better, I don't think. Yeah, other questions? 3 sessions. So like it was like about 12 hours, but we probably put, 10 to 20 hours into writing it and going out and getting stuff for it and getting people together. We actually wrote, it's like one of the other things about it was, I wrote a screenplay for it for all the segments except the interviews, basically. And then Elliot and I got together and rewrote that. And then we got our executive producer friends, Royal and Casey, to come in, and we all did another punch-up session. And that stuff, just took a few hours, but really it didn't take that long to shoot it. If you're shooting stuff that doesn't need to look perfect and you have people that know how to do it, the big thing was just setting everything up, and then it was like 3 or 4 hours each to knock it out. Shooting in that ice cream truck was kind of challenging, took a little like extra time and was really scrunchy. But yeah, no, probably 12 hours plus whatever time it took to write it. I'm not going to look at Paul again for the rest of this panel now unless he has another great question. Just because this person in the front row said that it was bumming her out. So I did it. I don't want to. I just can't not look at Paul. Any other questions about Cult Classic? Go ahead. Oh, no, I don't have one. Funny story. Funny story. I wasn't born here. No, I'm just kidding. I was. Don't look back. Don't look into that. I don't know what it is. I've got it written down somewhere. Just see, he knows you're not supposed to do that. It says not my social security number over it. And then I have both of my other passwords I use for everything underneath it that are just my pets' names with 69 after it. I don't want my pets to... 69, that's not what it's about. It's just a dumb way to remember something. Hey, Adam, what are these records? Well, let me tell you. These... I feel like the Cult Classic element of this has kind of petered out. It's great. Buy the book. It's on Vault Comics. It's legit as hell. You could probably get it at Paradox or any place real live comic books are sold. It looks great and is great. And Elliot's awesome. He also had a great book out called The Doorman that was on dark or heavy metal. And it's basically like, it's kind of like a little bit of Doctor Who, a little bit of Men in Black kind of thing. Very, very good about an intergalactic doorman. But one of the things that I'm most excited about promoting here that I'll just mention because I feel like I should plug it because nobody's buying them. No, I'm just kidding. I've sold a few. It's fine. I like to pretend that I'm not doing well, but it's great. And so I last Easter Sunday, I recorded a 20-minute set at a show, a comedy show at Boy Kisses Comedy. It's a really hot show in Minneapolis that's no longer with us because the boys all moved to L.A. But the record is called Egghead. I recorded it on Easter Sunday. It's 100% material that's me talking about Cadbury cream eggs. It's basically like a little experimental single. We had a few hundred 7-inch records pressed, and they're all in this. They're all in like randomly pulled, like swirled random gunmetal black vinyl and blue vinyl. And then Josh Trumbo actually did the illustration for the cover. He's great. He does a lot of my artwork. Love him to death. And then Ian Rands, my art director at Stand Up Records, did the layout and put the frames around it. But those are $10, and they're a 7-inch record, obviously. But they do come with a download that has the extended version of the show on it. So it's like 14 minutes on the vinyl and then 19 or 20 on the actual digital thing. So if you want one of those, hit me up. I understand you don't want to buy something before you've seen how great I am. I'm doing a show tonight at 9:30 or tomorrow night at 10 in this room, both of those. So thank you so much for coming out to this Cult Classic panel. Go out and buy the comic book and tell your friends. There's a good comic book called Cult Classic, written by some dude in Minneapolis. Thank you. And give a big round of applause for our tech people who've been doing tech stuff all weekend, making this stuff sound great and look great. God.